In 2022, Russia began to invade Ukraine. Now, in 2023, the war is still going on. So far, thousands of people have been killed and their homes have been destroyed. These are your hosts,
Zala,
Lexi.
Laiquen.
What is life in Ukraine like right now?
What is it like for people who stayed in Ukraine? Are there any updates?
With Ukraine struggling with constant bombing, no power, and lack of generators, those who have decided to stay are struggling mentally. Children are facing mental health difficulties. Managers are surprised to see their employees continuing to show up to work even in the dark. With school still going, those in Ukraine are trying to give their kids and themselves as normal of a life as possible.
How are the people fighting for Ukraine? Are those injured getting help?
Tons of soldiers are fighting for Ukraine. With many being injured and others becoming mentally ill, Ukraine is starting to struggle with room capacity. It's been a month since the tragedy, as he calls it. When the subject arises, he freezes and looks at the floor. He gulps for air. He cannot talk about it. Soldiers are being traumatized and suffering mental illnesses like PTSD. Hospitals are being overfilled with soldiers every day. Insomnia is another thing soldiers are having to cope with. Night terrors of their fights fill their heads at night, and they're unable to comfortably sleep.
What are the civilians' mental health looking like? Are people facing long-term effects?
Most children are beginning to have really bad anxiety due to the constant sound of bombs everywhere in the cities. There were always sounds of shooting in the background. She didn't want to sleep because of it, and it started a psychological problem. Many parents have sadly lost their children in the war, and because of the little power in the area, most of them cannot or rarely can contact each other. Olga lost everything because of the war, her folklore troupe, family, and even her children. Many are spiraling into depression after being separated from family members. Because of this, hospitals are currently being filled up with new patients constantly and are almost always full.
What places in Ukraine are being affected the most?
Kyiv has been getting bombed really frequently, and while some people have left, some have stayed to try and rebuild the city. When you get closer to the front line, you can see villages that are destroyed. Some people have stayed in the village because it's their home and they've lived there like most of their life. One resident of Kyiv said, "I want to live in my country because it's my home."
How have other countries or groups helped Ukraine?
The IRC has been helping those in Ukraine by sending them supplies like cash, blankets, and heaters. They are also helping by giving kids who are struggling a hand with safe healing. Though the power is out, neighbors are helping each other by letting them come over for heat or generator usage. The United States has helped Ukraine by sending them $400 million in military equipment. To answer our question, life in Ukraine is still difficult, but it's positively progressing over time. We think that soon enough, power will come back on, the war will ease down, and things will eventually be back to normal. Your hosts,
Zala,
Lexi,